Party people, welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, where the gaming table is always set for two. I am your host, as always, Jeff Stormer. This week I sit down with game designer Russell Collins to continue our game of Project Wingspan. We pick up with our hero Klaus Winberg, military veteran turned cyborg super soldier, as he balances the war with the enemy with the war at home. Now before we dive in, I wanted to take time to say one thing. Self-care and self-love are radical and defiant acts. Please make sure you're taking the time today to love yourself and to take care of yourself. You deserve it, and I love you, and I'm there for you. And if you ever need reminded of any of that, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks, party people. Now, without any further ado, and because my throat is on fire, let's throw it over to me in the past so he can get started with the show. Take it past me.
Thanks, future me. This week I'm sitting back down with Russell Collins. Russell, thank you so much for coming back.
Oh, sure. Great to continue this story. I love, Klaus so far, and I'm hoping to see more fun as we take him forward into the future.
Yeah, I'm really excited to dive back in. I think that there's parts of the game that we haven't explored yet, and and really I wanted to dive into the campaign parts of play. Mm-hmm. So so I'm really excited. So let's recap briefly what happened last time on Project Wingspan, and then we'll dive in from there.
Okay. We introduced Klaus. Klaus Winberg, yes. Okay. Our former veteran who has returned to the Army as part of Project Wingspan. We went through his introductory scenes where we sort of cemented his duty, believing that age should never be an obstacle. We explored his hope that he wants to rescue people and protect them even and above the purpose of the mission.
Right.
And then we flew him out on his first combat sortie to rescue the people of a little hamlet from a tank and its crew.
And it went well. It went very well. A little too well. Yeah, things blew up big, but might have gotten a little overexcited. Yeah.
That'll happen. And then flew back home to contend with a few issues back there. I mean, obviously, trying to get closer to Hannah, Hannah Breen. Might be a little romance in the future there. But also to deal with some things like, Brand Wassler being an absolute jerk and pushing people around.
Felt particularly good about that one.
Yeah, that was a fun one. But that did lead to Nilla, your boss, giving you a little bit of warning because, when an old man, a retiree, comes out of retirement and then, can take a punch from a young buck without flinching, people start wondering, what's going on here? Is there more than just Klaus having a second wind? I mean, has he been involved in some secret government experiment that's turned him into a super cyborg? Maybe.
Nothing like that, I'm sure. He's just a strong old man. It happens.
Yep.
Yeah, and then right before the ending, he had been called off. He was in the middle of a picnic with Hannah and Marta and had been called off to duty by his
commander.
By the commander.
Mm-hmm. Commander Boza, who was originally your recruiter, got you involved, and now
is sort of my handler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're opening up on, I believe, him getting ready to blast off again.
Yes. So Boza has filled you in on the very basics as they drove you back out to the scrapyard. They have outlined that there's apparently an assault going on a port town. There was a blockade, and now it seems that some enemy ships are breaking through and trying to make a beachhead. They quickly give you all this information as they hustle you out into the scrapyard, hand you the activation injector. You fire that off, and then there's that sort of bizarre, almost supernatural experience of the little machines flying out from under your skin, spinning around in the air around you, collecting all the bits and pieces and bringing them back and building you into your armor, building you into your weapon form so that you'll become the Rocket Man again in order to fight off the enemies of Morovia.
I think it's a little bit harsher looking this time. I think he's a little bit angrier to be here, and I think he's a little bit angrier because he's been pulled away from something that he cares about for a change. So I think that the look of it it's still like, he's still got wings, it's still sort of jet themed, but it's a little bit more of a fighter plane and a little bit less a little bit less smooth. Maybe it's got more obvious guns on it. Sharper edges, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. Well, let's assign your upgrades.
Sure.
You've still got a machine of 2, so you have 2 upgrades.
All right.
You can put them wherever you want. I mean, every time you form into the weapon again, you can shift them around from place to place.
Right.
And if you remember, they add a bonus point either to one of your talents or to one of the skills that you use under a talent. Or 2 points, under a skill you use with that talent.
I think we're going to go with, going along with like the anger and the guns, I'm going to go with focused and deft. So
Focused.
+1 dice to focused and a +2 to deft.
Okay, good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So once you've finished your transformation into the slightly more edgy, angry version of the Rocket Man, the radio picks up. Commander Berza explains to you the location, and you fly off heading due south, straight towards port city of, I believe it was Illage was the name I'd written down. So yes, flying down to Illage, port city, to see what kind of disaster they have waiting for you there.
Excellent, excellent.
Okay. So the battle is been in progress for a couple hours now by the time you arrive. It's waning on into the afternoon. The sun is starting to set, and the light is stained sort of a crimson from all the smog and smoke and particles kicked up into the air from shelling and explosions and so on. That's sort of given an angry cast to the light over the port city. The Moravian Navy has been doing their best to try and hold back these forces from making their beachhead. You can see several battleships off the shore now, which are smoldering. It looks like a couple of them have been practically demolished by the attack, and now smaller boats have broken through and are making their way toward the shore. A few have landed already, and there are troops from the Hansen armies spreading out, trying to establish their beachhead. The town itself is mostly hills and windy roads, which has been great for the defense. They've got guns, placed up in the hills, and they're shelling down the beach. Moravian forces just rolling back and forth through the streets, trying to secure the defense.
Sure.
Now, the greatest danger, the greatest threat, the one that Barza points out to you right away, is that the enemy have deployed jet fighters from one of their offshore platforms. Okay. And that's going to be the biggest problem. Things like the tanks and the troops they can hold down on the beach. Right. But if those fighters can get above them, hit them with a few strafing runs or launch rockets onto them, well, that's going to be a disaster. They've got their anti-air guns firing away, but if they could get you to attack them directly, you might be the best bet to get rid of the jets.
Yeah, that seems like my element.
Okay. Now, being a former fighter pilot, this is probably where you belong.
I certainly feel. Mm-hmm. I hear him say target the fighters, and I'm like, yeah. Obviously, what did you think I was going to do?
Excellent. So the Hornet jet fighters are rather new innovation for the Hansens. They've done away with prop planes and all that sort of thing. So now they have these sort of sleek designs to them. They're basically flying arrowheads with pods of rocket launchers, or rocket shells, attached to the undersides, and big machine guns come out of the front. Very angry-looking things, and they're already begun buzzing over the battlefield in strafing runs. There are 2 of them that you can make out as sort of the lead of this attack. So you, of course, already flying, shift your angle and start to move in on them.
Yeah.
So how do you want to engage with these enemy vehicles?
I think the first thing I'm going to want to do is get them to pay attention to me and not the people below.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could target one of them through perhaps formulate some sort of perhaps a battering ram or a cow catcher or a blade to sort of slice through one. To get something direct that puts me in their eye line that also lets me target one of the planes.
Okay, so you want to get in close.
Yeah, I want to get in close on one and then try to pull away to take out the others.
Okay. Well, the challenge of fighting a jet fighter is 8.
All right.
They have 2 buffs. In this case, the rocket barrage isn't really going to affect you because you're trying to get past the rocket barrage. So the fact that they are capable of fast, evasive maneuvers, however, is a buff they have that's probably going to knock down your dice.
Sure.
Yeah, attacking one of them will definitely get the attention of the other. If you wanted to try, an action to debuff, to remove the ability of its evasive maneuvers, you could do that. Or you could just go right for it. I mean, your power level for this battle is 40, because there are a lot of people down there, a lot of things going on. So you've got the energy to spend on actions, but going in for something direct like this might not necessitate that. You might just get in there and hit him.
Yeah, right. I think that's what I'm going to do, is just try to hit the one, and then I'm just going to take the one debuff.
Okay.
And try to hit the one, get the other one's attention, see what I can do.
Okay. Well, this is definitely a fit action, so pick up your hand of 4 dice.
4 dice.
4 dice for that. We'll roll them, and we'll find the high die value. And we have got
3.
We've got 2 3s.
And 2 1s.
Yeah. Well, the pairs are good, because the 2 3s combine to create a 4.
All right.
So you've actually got a 4 as a base there.
All right.
Now, you're leaping in quickly. I don't know that this is a strong attack. It seems more like a deft attack to me. So that actually bumps it up to a 6 with your deft, and you also upgrade.
With plus 2.
You upgraded that with the 8. So you've got an 8. You've got the number that you need in order to hit them. Yeah, that's the challenge number, is the 8. So yeah, you've got the number you need in order to hit one of them. So you do.
Okay. Great.
That'll take that one out. Go ahead and fill me in on the details of this.
So the way it works is I see the 2 jets, and I kind of close my fist, and I start just flying at it. Sort of, I don't really have a plan to start out, I think. I think that I'm just flying in, and I'm gonna hit it and see what happens. And thankfully the machine, kind of covers for me by making this big, just like a blade on the front. Like it emerges from maybe between my shoulder blades and goes over my head. So I fly in, and I sort of buzzsaw the one in half.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I kind of slow down and sort of do a few loop-de-loos in the air, as though to clearly make my presence known to the other.
Oh yeah, that's definitely got his attention. Yeah, the plane has been basically scissored in half. The pilot bursts out of his ejection chair and starts floating down as the pieces of the plane tumble away. Now you hit the challenge right on, so that is a pass, meaning that there's no extra points either way. So you don't gain any joy from the success, but there's no collateral damage being done either, which is nice.
That is exceptional. That is very nice.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get through this with as much little collateral damage as possible.
Now, in other things, you rolled your high die roll was a 3. Even though you matched it with another one for a 4, the die still showed a 3.
Right.
So that's 3 from the power. Of your from your machine's power. So you've got 37 power left to continue the fight. All right.
Yeah. So I am dancing around a little bit to try and get its attention.
Oh, you've got it. Yeah.
And then once it starts flying at me, I'm going to attempt to hit a loop-de-loop, get behind it, and then target it with maybe a rail gun.
Okay.
Or an air rifle or something.
Well, this guy's definitely, I mean, he's trying to dogfight with you. He's trying to get around behind. And he seems completely flustered by the fact that in order to turn, you have much more control than he does. He's got one big engine and a couple of wings. You've got multiple engines you can switch on and switch off. You've got multiple wings that you're even able to just change the shape of them as you move. Meaning you're much more maneuverable than him. Well, I mean, trying to just shoot him down, though, you still have to deal with his evasive maneuvers.
Right.
And since he has 2 buffs, he's also going to be going at you with the machine gun cannons.
Sure.
So there are those 2 buffs that he has on his side. Now, if you want to try and outmaneuver him, like you were saying, that would be a debuff to try and take away the effectiveness of his evasive maneuvers. Yeah, I think that's
exactly what I'm going to do.
Okay, yeah, well, let's do that before we get into actually shooting him down.
Sure.
So that is, we are flying stuff around. We're still fit because we're still flying things. In fact, we're still being deft as well because we are, getting all evasive and trying to avoid that kind of thing. So it's fit. But because he's got his evasive maneuvers, let's drop 1 die from that.
All right.
So we've got
3 dice. I got a 6.
Oh, there we go. Cool. So there's our 6.
That's a 10 total.
Oh, 10 total. Yep, that'll knock out the evasive maneuvers. So yeah, you're
okay.
You basically got him tied in knots.
Yeah.
He can't keep up with you. He can't change direction as quickly as you. He's trying to get behind your tail, but you're able to just leap behind him.
And I think that's where I want him to be. I want him to be flustered and to be more. I don't want him to be so flustered that he's going to give up and just try to focus on other things. I want him exactly flustered enough to keep trying. So maybe there are points where I slow down a little bit and I let him close in and then dance around him.
Yeah, you bait him. Bait him into coming close. Okay, cool. So let's see. That will that takes out his evasive maneuverability.
Okay.
So that's dealt with. Now you're trying to figure out, did we trigger one of your? Did we trigger your chance to gain joy off that? Well, you're trying to pull this guy away from attacking other people.
Yeah,
I think that feeds your hope. So go ahead and
does. Yeah.
Give yourself another point of joy.
Right.
We are filling that meter up right quick.
Great.
So that's good. Yeah. So you've got him dead to rights. You can fire away, and he won't really have any buffs to use against you. You'll be able to roll the full hand.
All right. Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Okay. Well, that's focused, so that's 4 dice.
4 dice plus 1 of my upgrades. It's going to make it 5 dice.
Oh, well, that's actually a +1 that's added.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's just a bonus point.
Right. Gotcha.
Sorry.
Gotcha.
So the 4 dice.
So 4 dice. I got a 6.
Okay.
Which makes a 6. That's observant, correct?
Yes.
So that's going to be a 10 again.
10 again. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, the railgun cannon lines up perfectly, and with one shot, you pierce straight through the center of the jet. Now, let's talk a little bit about these joy points.
Yes,
because joy points can be used to buy a result up or down. Right now, you're gonna demolish Jet.
Right.
That jet is gonna explode in the air, huge fireball, massive explosion, all that kind of deal. And that's also going to up the anger results in Morovia. People are going to see these huge, displays of these vulgar displays of power, and it's going to get people riled up in potentially dangerous ways. So what you can do here is, if you want to spend the 2 points of joy, you can actually buy that 10 down to an 8, making it a pass result rather than a win result.
I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. I think that I'm going to maybe take aim. Where I've got him to where I could, take him out, and then maybe turn it slightly askew, take out a wing, take the time to make sure that I'm not going too far.
Oh, exactly. All right, yeah. You line that shot up perfectly. I mean, you can see how you could blast straight into the fuel supply and just detonate the thing in the air, but by, shifting your aim ever so slightly, you slice through one of the wings. And the plane begins to lose altitude right away, just sort of wavering and fluttering as the pilot's, trying to pull it back up, but it's just sort of coasting now, gliding in down toward the bay.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. So that takes care of the jet fighter. Berza is quite happy with this. And, primary targets eliminated. Let's see. Your power level, you've spent 15 power now. You rolled those 2 6s, which was, 6 power each time.
Right.
So we've taken 15 off your power, but you've still got 25 left, which should be enough for Berza to give you a secondary target, which is the landing transport. One of those big landing transports is heading in towards the coast, and the troops are firing shells at it, trying to stop the advance of this thing, but it's just barreling through the fire. And on the back of it are actually 4 of these walking tanks. They're not the big hulking one like you faced in the town before, but if these 4 things can hit the beach, then they can make quick progress up into the surrounding buildings. And walkers themselves are a lot more maneuverable,
right?
Meaning that they can outrun the tanks that are trying to roll back and forth and get around the tight corners of the city streets.
All right.
So your orders from Berza are to stop that landing transport somehow. Stop it from landing and stop it from deploying those walker units that are perched on its back.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. So, I'm in the air. I've taken out the jet. I'm going to try to get a sight, try to close in enough that I could take aim and fire, but I want to get a view of them to figure out exactly what I need to do to get a clean shot on them first.
Sure. All right. Well, yeah, you can fly down a little closer and take a look. Or, one of the great things about the machine is it when you start thinking about things like, gosh, I wish I could get a better look, the focus of your eyes changes ever so slightly as the little machines begin cybernetically augmenting your vision or popping a little viewfinder lens down for you or whatever. They'll do what they need in order to make you the most efficient machine on the battlefield. Well, if the danger is the walkers, there are 4 of them on the back. They're probably not as heavily armored as the other stuff. They're probably a little weaker if you wanted to try and take them out.
Okay.
The transport itself, though, is a big, heavily armored thing. It's actually got smokescreen projectors that it's switched on to try and make itself harder to hit. There are anti-aircraft guns in the back of it. If you want to try and smash this thing, you could try, destroying the engines on it, or, just putting a nice big hole in the side to force it to take on enough water that it'll ground out before it actually reaches the beach itself to deploy. It's going to be harder. If you want to barrel at the transport, you're going to be dealing with a much higher challenge and a greater danger of buffs. If you want to try and deal with the walkers, you could probably, you could hit them more readily, but there are 4 of them. So there are 4 separate targets that would have to be dealt with as opposed to the one big thing.
I think I'm going to go for the walkers.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've got the power.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the power left that I think I could take them out before I run out of power.
Sure. Sounds good.
So I'm going to try to take a shot at them from a distance, sort of maybe even do like a strafing run on them.
Mm-hmm.
Hit them with a few maybe bombs or machine guns or the like.
Okay. Now they have a challenge of 7. They normally have 2 buffs, but because of the way you're approaching them, most of that stuff doesn't really help them. Also, they're immobilized while they're on the transport. So I think the only buff that they have, they're actually going to take the buff from the transport of the smoke screen, which is there to just obscure vision and make it harder for people to target them. So that will cost you 1 die from your hand here. Now, this is a focused action since we're shooting. So focused and observant. I think that seems like the right stuff.
4, so I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah. I don't know that I need to take a debuff action before I open fire on the first one.
If you want to, you can take the action to basically nullify the smoke screen. Maybe the machine can find some way to alter your vision so you can see through it or something like that.
True.
That's, but that's the thing. If you're okay rolling 3 dice instead of 4, then...
I think the odds of me getting a 7... close to a 7 on that should be pretty... I should be pretty close.
Yeah, your observant is high.
And I've got the and I got the focused.
Yeah, you got another plus. So you're already adding 4 to this roll.
Yeah, so I just need to get a 3.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm gonna.
And you've got joy to spend too if you fall short.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and take those shots on the first one.
Okay.
I got a 5.
5. Good.
So that's a 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay. Yeah.
So I am going to.
Now there are 7.
Yeah. So
you can let it sit at 9, or you can try and buy it, down if you're worried about too much collateral damage.
I'm going to buy it down by 1.
Okay.
Wait, does it?
No.
Yeah. Does it make a difference if it's up by 1 or 2, or is it a win is a win?
A win's a win.
Then
if you wanted to, you would
bump
have
it down by the
2.
2.
Okay, yeah, that'll make it a pass. So then it's a neat, clean strike. No, crazy, overblown.
Right.
All right. Obviously, they're not expecting you. They can't see through the smoke nearly as well themselves. They're sort of motoring towards the shoreline, hoping for the best. And you swoop overhead, and with a clean shot, you shoot through the actuators of one of the walking tanks, and it just sort of shudders where it is, and then just tips over to one side as it can no longer keep its balance. Crashes against the side of the boat and tumbles over into the water. Through the smoke, you can see the crew running around trying to figure out what the hell happened, what's going on. They don't know where the shot came from.
Now, I think the next thing I'm going to do, while I'm not worried about my own power, I'm worried about the ship getting too close to the shore. So I'm going to do a little bit like I did with the jets, where I'm going to make my presence known, maybe fly it, maybe do a quick circle, make my intentions of doing another strafing run known to make sure that they are maybe focusing their efforts on taking me out rather than completing the beachhead.
Okay. Let's see. Well, you really want to be you're trying to basically get the transport distracted from their course, right?
Yeah.
All right. You've got 20 power left, so there's plenty of time to do this, or plenty of energy to do this. The landing transport still has 3 buffs, and it's still a challenge of 11 because they don't really want to stop for anything. So it's going to be tricky to do. They've got the smoke screen up, but that probably doesn't I don't know, that might actually obscure things from them trying to recognize you being up there as well. They do have anti-aircraft guns on this thing that they are now that they're trying to look for something to shoot.
Maybe I am going to focus still on the walkers. I think that's the best option.
I say stick with the walkers now. That's probably the easier thing to deal with. The transport, I mean, if you want to go for it, you can, but it's going to be
a lot tougher. And I think I can knock off at least another walker or two before I run out of power. So I think that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Is do a loop back and the same exact plan of just like another strafing run.
Sure.
Tumbling back and forth to sort of take the best advantage of that.
Now, they've got their machine guns up now, so, they're firing back, so you're going to have to drop a die from the focus roll. Actually, wait, the smoke screen's still up, too. So you're going to have to drop two dice for this roll.
I can... Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is, with the machine, try to, instead of just shooting a machine gun or a rifle, try to put together some sort of, like, heat-seeking missile. Like some sort of thermal targeting thing to target specifically the crew of the walker, like to zoom in on that, to get past the smoke screen, to focus specifically on that before I take out anything else.
Sure.
So that'll put me back at 3, which is pretty easy to get a 7.
Right.
So then I'm gonna fire that missile. I'm gonna zoom in and fire that missile.
Okay, fire away.
I got a 6.
Oh, there's that 6.
So that's a 10. I can't bump that down, so I'm just gonna take the win.
Okay, that's fine. All right, yeah. So, like you said, heat-seeking missile launches out, arcs down. They're sort of stunned by this. Seeking missiles are a new technology, and you've read about it, you've heard about it. It's a great thing, and now suddenly you can just conjure them up at will. Which, pretty impressive, and seems to have startled them that this small craft that's come out of nowhere is now, firing high-tech advanced ordnance down on them. Another one of the walkers explodes into flame. The ship is actually listing to one side now, just from the impact. The crew is scrambling around frantically on the deck, trying to figure out what to do as that walker collapses onto the ship further, now spreading the flames around. That does cause one more point of chaos. You can take 2 more before the anger in the world rises, so we're okay with that.
Yeah.
And that 6 power brings you to, what am I at? I'm at 26 power now.
So about 14 left.
Yep.
All right.
So there's 2 walkers remaining, 14 power left, and the boat is still trying to make their way to the beach. There are standard troops on board, but obviously they won't be any good dealing with things like the tanks and the guns. It's still just the danger of these walkers that could, hop up onto the beach and speedily make their way to their offensive lines.
So I think I'm going to keep targeting the walkers. If I can target one in a way that could even further tip over the ship, that might be helpful, because then if it's starting to list, that means that it won't take a whole lot of effort to capsize the whole thing. So that might be my plan, is to try to shoot it from the side that will make the walker fall over to onto the side where it's starting to list, to really force it to flip.
I'm wondering if that's actually sort of a combined action where you're trying to attack the walker, but also sort of debuff the lander. So what I think I might do is actually have you roll for 2 actions to do that. First will be to shoot the walker.
Sure.
And if you've successfully destroyed it, then I think we're going to be rolling for a debuff to see if you can get the ship itself to lose some of its ability from
that. Makes sense.
So that is going to be 2 actions. Sure. But, let's see how it goes with shooting the walker out.
All right.
You can fire more of your heat-seeking missiles.
Yeah, I think that works so far. If it ain't broke. I got a 3, so that's 7.
7, good. That's the number you want to hit. Boom. All right. Yeah, these rockets are doing quite well for you. You're going to have to remember this trick. Another of the walkers, demolished. This one, again, nice and clean, quick. You sort of clip the top off of it, which explodes in the air and then tumbles down into the water. The ship is definitely rocking back and forth now from explosions on one side and then on the other. Why don't we go ahead and see how this affects it? Now, let's see. So we're trying to basically tip the thing over. I think this is actually still a focused action, but it doesn't matter that it has a smoke screen or anti-aircraft guns or whatever this. You're going to get to roll your full focused amount. And actually, I don't know if this is observant. This might be more intellectual. Okay. Honestly. So let's see what comes of that. Let's see what comes of that.
4d6 plus 2. I got a 6.
You got two sixes.
So that's a 7, so that's an 8, 9.
9. Well, getting this ship to fall over is going to require an 11, though, so I don't know if you can buy that up.
I only have the one joy, so it's not going to...
buy that up any further. Yeah, I'm afraid that's not going to happen. So the ship, is swaying from side to side, and you actually see, it tips to the point that it starts to take on water from one side before swinging back over the other way, and they manage to right it. The boat is still coming in. If your sense of timing had been just a little better, maybe you could have...
Yeah.
Well.
The sea is a harsh mistress.
Yes. So that is a failure, so you do get a point of pain for that.
Pain?
Just make a note that you're one of those.
Point of pain.
Mm-hmm. So for now, you don't have to worry yet about too much of that. If you get another point of pain, it's actually going to cross the threshold of your machine, meaning the machine is going to say, "Hey, let's not do that anymore," and we'll upgrade itself to stop losing. Okay. Well, there's still that one walker left. The landing transport is still trying to get there with it. It's certainly much reduced threat now, but still in the mission to get rid of it.
I'm going to need to take out that last walker.
Yep.
I think I'm pretty close to out of power, but I think I've got at least one shot left with these missiles.
Yeah, let's see where you at now. 32. Yeah, you've got 8. You've got 8 power left. You can definitely take
it out. I'm going to take this thing out. Okay. I'm going to one last heat-seeking missile.
Mm-hmm.
Zoom in, take aim, and fire.
Okay.
Is it still getting that smoke? Yeah, it's still getting that smoke.
Yeah, it still has the smoke. We haven't done a debuff to get rid of the smoke, so it's still there.
Well, that is a 6.
All right.
So that is a 10. So that is... Yeah, that is a 10.
That is a dead walker.
Yep. There's a dead walker.
Boom. Okay, yeah. The last walker explodes, and this one actually takes a chunk out of the side of the boat, which is still steaming towards the shore, but now with practically nothing to show for it when it arrives. The walkers are all smashed, and chunks of them tumbling over the side into the sea. That does upgrade the chaos by 1 point, but it hasn't gone over the anger yet, so it's not a permanent increase to the world's chaos. Basically,
that is my main concern.
Mm-hmm. Basically, just a temporary point.
Sure.
So you can undo that hopefully with some good luck later.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try. That's where my focus is going to be, is keeping that anger low.
Okay. Well, let's see, that's 6. Yep. So you've managed to come in under budget power wise. Berza is back on the comms. Excellent work. Looks like our energy levels are running low, so I want you to fly back to Scrapyard, and we will reset, get you back into town. This is great. You've done good stuff here. I think this will hold them back. If nothing else, it'll make fewer lives will be lost defending that beach.
That is all that matters.
Great.
And he flies back. I think he flies back silent. He lands silent.
Mm-hmm.
He takes the car back to town silent.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's not in a mood to talk to people.
Gotcha. All right. Well, the battle did go well for Morovia. You read about it in the newspapers the next day, and they're talking about this new weapon, the Rocket Man system, which is apparently the product of this Project Wingspan initiative that the Moravian government is very proud to introduce to the people, and something. This is the technology that's going to win us the war. You've seen it proven now in this amazing display. The beachhead landing was stopped short. The forces there were pushed back out into the ocean. The town took some hits. The town Illage is a bit worse for wear, but the enemy have not taken that town.
Right.
So there's celebratory news, and a lot of people are happy to hear this. But it's also made the war a lot more real.
Right.
To people. It's closer now.
Yeah.
The more these things happen, the more it builds up in people's minds. But we're back in town now. We're back in Idle. It's been a couple of days since then. You've sort of slipped back into the routine of the evening job and trying to see Hannah when you can.
Mm-hmm.
Marta's actually going to be shipping out today. So you and Hannah have gone down to the town square where you can see Marta and Brand and a couple other young folks from in town are all there. They're wearing their uniforms. They're like their privates' uniforms, which are
right.
Of the era, a little more formal than what we would expect from a
Sure.
soldier shipping out. They've got a lot of brass buttons their jackets and caps and all that sort of thing. So they're all, lined up there as the recruitment officer is, walking up and down and kind of making a ceremony,
right,
of picking them up. And
I think I'm wearing my military, like my formals as well.
Mm-hmm.
I am trying to, especially after talking to Nilla, I think I'm trying to blend in, and I think part of that is not flaunting it, but celebrating my military past, almost as a way to cover up my military present.
Gotcha. I like that. Cool. So, there's some, tearful goodbyes.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of, in a way, the only looks you can afford Brand are generally sort of kind of glad to see you go, buddy. It's hard to look at him as anything other than a bully now, but,
right.
It seems like at least he's trying to do something, of some value. His father, Gene is, is kind of like putting on a brave face, but you can see he's nervous.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, the same thing with Hannah, seeing Marta put on this uniform and go off to fight. Before it was, we're going to do something great for our country. Now we're off to fight a war. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And especially after Iliad, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky to be super proud.
Right. So, they climb on board the bus. Marta stopping to give Hannah a hug and then to shake your hand and tell you that if there's any funny business in her absence when she comes back, she will clobber you. So,
yeah,
keep it on the straight and narrow, old man.
I will do my best.
Mm-hmm. I want better than your best. That's my mom we're talking about.
I think when I say that, I give her a little bit of eyebrow. I'm like, I'll do my best, and I give her an eyebrow.
Mm-hmm.
Cause she puts up, she gives me a hard time, but we know she likes it.
Yeah.
She's how like seeing her mom happy.
Well, she climbs onto the bus, opens up the bus window, and as the bus starts to roll away, Marta starts to sing the Moravian national anthem.
Mm-hmm.
You hear other voices in the bus start to join in with her, and they start singing as as it winds its way down, down the path away from the town square out onto the main roads, and the people in the square start singing along themselves. And as the little crowd breaks up and people begin to spread out, they're still humming a tune to themselves, making their way back to work.
Yeah, right. I think what I'm going to do, I think my first post-war action is going to be using my, I think I'm going to make sure that everybody is okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a military man. I've seen people leave before. Never in a draft situation, never in a war situation, but I've seen people leave before. Like, I've seen that bus leave.
Gotcha.
And I want to take some time with Hannah and take some time with Jean to, I guess, comfort them and sort of be like, maybe, regale them with some, softer military stories about, it was a good experience and there was always a danger that something was going to happen, but, we had each other's back, and that was the most important thing. Mm-hmm. And to, sort of just not assail their concerns or not, send them away, but just make sure that they're feeling better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, trying to improve the mood back home is definitely a good use of your time and energy. All right. Yeah, I think just sort of spending some time with them. I mean, there are different ways we could go about this. I mean, if you still want to try and grow the relationship with Hannah some more, we could have sort of a bonding scene with her. If you just sort of want to just have something more in general, you could suggest, why don't we all get together for a meal together and we could all just talk about this stuff. You could meet up with Jean, et cetera.
I think both of those sound good. I think if we had a bonding scene with Hannah, and then, because I want her being okay is the most important thing to me.
Gotcha.
And then sort of proposing a more general, hey, let's get together. Let's all celebrate because we could use some festivity.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would help both of those.
Okay.
And I think playing that role of the, almost caretaker, uncle, grandpa figure probably helps me keep a pretty low profile. If that makes me feel, you know what I mean? That puts me in the light of more of a grandfather and less of a active figure.
Right. It helps with that, helps keep up that appearance.
Yeah, right, for sure.
Okay. I've got 25 on the war clock for this.
Okay.
This might be a short stay, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So, you wanted to have that scene first with Hannah.
Yeah.
Where do you go? Do you suggest going somewhere? Do you just just see where she wants to go and just follow along?
Yeah, I think that I'm gonna I ask her specifically, like, what do you want to do? Let's take a day for you. Mm-hmm. Like, let's do whatever you want to do today.
Okay. There is a little path up into the forest that goes up towards one of the tops of the mountains. It's a pretty steep space, so no one really they don't really. Not really built up. It's kind of used as like a little observation point that looks out over the town. And she says she always liked to go there with Marta when she was younger. So she wants to make the trek up there.
That sounds great. Have a little picnic. Mm-hmm. Just like the ones we had at work.
Gotcha. Now it's harder going for Hannah. It's kind of a hike. Mm-hmm. You're making your way along. You don't really feel it as much. I mean, the machine is constantly working away inside you, making you more perfect. But she has to stop frequently to catch her breath, and always comments that it wasn't this steep. Last time I was up here, I don't know, maybe someone must have come around and made these steps taller or something. Marta and I used to just zip right up and down this in a few minutes. So she's still making her way along. Every time you try to take the picnic basket from her, she insists that you're peeking and tries to take it away from you. You're getting this sort of overall feeling that she wants to do this for the way that things used to be.
Sure, for sure, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of symbolic in that way to her.
I think what I'm going to do is offer to help whenever I can, but I think it's important to the both of us that if she wants to do this for the way they used to be, I certainly want to help with that, and I think it's going to help her, and it's going to help me both if we both feel fit and young and like we did a thing today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think so I'm gonna help her along however possible. Like if I have to put an arm on her shoulder and kind of help her along. We give her something to lean on as I kind of carry her weight a little bit.
It sounds like you're trying to empathize with her.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a tricky thing for you. You're trying to open up more to people about that, but it's been difficult in the past. But it sounds like that's what you're trying to do. The difficulty for this with her is probably a 6. Yeah, I don't think there are any buffs I want to throw at you for this.
Okay.
I mean, we could say she's exhausted and so she's not really in the right frame of mind for this, but I mean, Klaus, you wouldn't let her get tired.
No,
you would grab the picnic basket away from her before she gets exhausted.
And I would pick her up if it
comes to that. Well, let's see how this die roll goes. That might tell us something.
Sure.
So charming 2 dice.
All right. 2 6s.
2 6s, right? So there's that 7. And yeah, with I said the difficulty was a 6, so you're above that. So there we go. You've won.
Yep.
She really, opens up. You're able to really get a sense of how she's feeling about all this, and really, just sort of show how you're both on the same level. The idea, was to sort of reassure her about,
for sure,
what this means, and so you can tell her a bit about how things were when you were active as a soldier, and what that meant, and kind of say what you think that will mean to Marta.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And her safety and all of that.
Yeah, and
part of it.
Some work stories that tie into that about how Marta's always the first one to step in for work stuff, and how that she's gonna take to the military and she's gonna be just fine.
Gotcha.
All that good stuff.
All right. So, since that was a win, I'm going to give you a point of joy to add, because your drive is to, that age is not an obstacle to duty, and I think that's been expressed there. Your connection to Hannah goes up by 1.
All right.
So now that level is, that bond with her is now a level 2. Meaning the next time you spend some time with her and things go well, you can actually gain 2 points of joy instead of 1 from the interaction, because you're closer to her now. Your bond and connection has been deepened.
Excellent.
By that shared understanding. And you rolled 6, so I take the on the war clock.
All right.
So yeah, it's an afternoon well spent, and by the end of the evening, she doesn't mind quite so much as you carry, the picnic basket and occasionally carry her down some of the steps on the way back home afterward.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's a nice evening. Now, you said you wanted to try and follow up with Jean as well?
Yeah,
okay.
I think in a less personal sense, but maybe Jean as representative of, like, the other parents of the town. You know what I mean? So you had suggested maybe putting together some sort of event. Some sort of, like, thing that maybe encouraging Hannah even to put together, she loved making those picnic baskets, so maybe we could put together a little, like...
A town event?
Yeah, a little feast or a little, like, dinner. Well, church dinner or something.
Yeah, there's a talk about a town meeting coming up in a couple of days that everyone's saying that they're being asked by the central government that all towns have a meeting to disseminate some information.
Sure.
I mean, the radio is constantly buzzing with, like, news about, what's going on at the borders and, where the incursions are and all that. But they still want to have these public town forums for people to to talk to their elected representatives and do all of the business of civics in wartime. So the idea is maybe you can sort of piggyback on that, have a big picnic, and then follow it up with a town meeting. That might be a good idea. Jean has been very hard to locate.
Okay.
I mean, you've gone back to work. You've been working, in the warehouses, moving all the stuff around. There's a lot more work to do now that Marta is gone, and a couple of the other young folks are no longer out in the field. So all of the, all the parents and the kids and so on are now, picking up some extra weights and extra shifts. It gets a little lonely some nights because no one else really seems to have come on for those late night watches. Now that Marta's not there. But Jean has been very difficult to locate. Like, people, oh yeah, he just left, or oh, he's not here. Just never able to catch up with him. I guess you could sort of look for him, or you could just wait for him to turn up and see what kind of a story comes along with that.
I might poke around a little bit, try to keep a low profile in doing so, because I don't want to stand out too much. But I think finding him specifically, because I imagine he's going to be one of the people really like one of the big people at this town meeting.
Right.
He's a big name in town, so I think he's going to I want to I'd like to clear it with him as my boss and as a big name in the town before we do anything. So I think maybe discreetly poking around just a little bit.
Okay. I think that this is probably going to be... I think this will be actually a focused and intellectual action, because I've got an idea in mind of what might come, but let's see what happens with that.
Okay.
So 4 dice for focus.
Sure.
4 dice for that. The difficulty for dealing with this guy is still a 6 because the anger in town has not overwhelmed us.
Sure.
Oh, by the way, I should have mentioned this before. Since things went well with Hannah, the temporary anger ticks down by 1, so there's less chance of disaster.
The rules question I had is that the result of a win in town? Is that the anger goes down?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I wanted to make sure that so I'm aiming for wins in out of war and aiming for passes in battle.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, if you want to control the mood that way.
Right, that makes sense.
The good news is that failures in town don't actually increase those numbers.
Got it. Okay.
Those numbers go up out of battle, and they go down at home.
Got it. Cool. Makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So I think so. You said focused and intellectual. So that's going to be 4 dice.
Yes.
Plus 2 because I got that upgrade.
The upgrade isn't on right now.
Oh, that's right.
You're not in weapon form.
That's right.
You're fully human again. So all that's gone away. It's all been sublimated into the system.
Yes. Okay. So 4 dice plus 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That is a 6 because I rolled 2 5s.
2 5s. Good. And then plus 1 of that gives you the 7, which is good. That gets what you need. That's a win. Hannah isn't in this. Does this say anything about your drive, your heart?
Not really.
Yeah, I guess not. Okay.
Really?
So we'll let that pass. It's a win, but no joy from it.
Yeah, we'll see what comes. I might be interested in trying to build a relationship with Gene and turn him into a Bond character.
That's true. You couldn't make him a Bond character.
Yeah. So all right, let's see where this goes.
So you've been sort of looking around, looking for Gene, so one day, as you are, moving some boxes around and and sorting things out in in the warehouse. You notice there's an awful lot of invoices coming in, an awful lot of stuff needs to be moved and taken out and all that kind of thing. I mean, it must be part of the war effort. Everybody's trying to get supplies here and supplies there and all that kind of thing. But you see one come across in front of you where it's been put in by Jean, to be delivered to this to this loading dock. But the signature on it, Nilla's signature, looks shaky.
Okay.
And you just glancing down the list of other orders, work orders, etc. You can see that this signature is an approximation of Nilla's. Like if you just glanced at it, you'd see it, but this does not look like it was written in her hand.
That's not good.
And in fact, with that little question mark over your head, you go through the little ledger, a collection of other orders and stuff, and it seems that there are a lot of them going to Jean. That the sign off there, Nilla's hand looks a little shaky. So, the easiest way, of course, to deal with that is just to bring him this box and figure out what's going on. Like normally you hand it off to someone else, but maybe if you take this one down there yourself, you'll get the whole story.
I think that's just what I'm going to do. That seems like the right thing to do here.
Okay, yeah. So it's at the loading dock 3, and Jean is there along with a couple of the other boys, working the stock. And you bring him down this box of bottles of wine, from the special reserve. And he seems kind of startled to see you at first, and it was like, I figured Francois would be doing the deliveries. I didn't want to put you out, Klaus.
Oh no, not putting me out at all. Figured everybody's pitching in a little extra. We're a little short-handed. I figured this was the, if I can help out, I'd like to. So I figured I'd drop this off.
Sure. Well, that's great. You can just leave that there, and we'll catch up with you later. He looks a little flustered, and a couple of the boys look at him like, "Oh, what's going on here?"
So so I think what I'm going to try to do is subtly, but not too directly, so Nilla hasn't. How exactly do I want to say to not cause a scene? Maybe just be like, so we're getting a lot of these late shipments, or a lot of these like urgent shipments coming in. I feel like this business must be really popping, huh?
So yeah, if you want to try and make this go down smooth, that would actually be a charming convince action, and that'll let you make things go down smooth, sort of get into his confidence without anybody flipping out.
Exactly what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, let's do that then. Let's make an action of it. So that's convince. So that's the 3 dice there.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to add a buff to this, however, because now he is suspicious.
Sure.
So that might knock your charming down to a single die.
So what I might do then is try to take an action to debuff that suspicion, and perhaps have it be that I got it. I know what I want to do.
Sure.
I'm going to just maybe produce like the checklist of signed off purchases. Of signed off shipments.
Gotcha.
To make it seem less like I am interrogating and more like I'm just reading things off to sort of like get the sense of like, well, this was signed off at this time, this was signed off at this time, and just like checking in with them, be like, you approve this time? Great. Check that off the list. Just run through the list. You understand how these like
I think that's actually focused intellectual, because once again, you're bringing out the data. You're bringing out the hard data. It's time to like make your case.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Let's see what comes of that.
That is a 3, 4.
3, 4. Okay, good. 4 plus 1, 5.
And I'm going to spend a point of joy for that.
Okay. Yeah, that's 6. That'll get you that. Sure.
That extra dice for this charming roll is going to be important, so I want to make sure to take that buff off.
Yeah. So the numbers do not lie. He he hears you rattle off the numbers. Some of the boys get bored, but he gets a little more not uptight.
Sure.
But he's listening. He's attentive. He's curious now rather than being suspicious. He seems more curious. Like, where's this going?
Bored is good, and bored is good also. Like I want to get their attention away from things.
Gotcha.
So now I'm gonna try to steer the conversation almost in a small talk way of like, Weird that all these all these urgent purchases keep coming in. Must be part of the war effort, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I can nudge him a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Give him that.
Charming dice.
Yeah.
And
that's a 2 4s, and that's a 5. That's an 8.
An 8.
My convince.
Yeah. He he hears you out, listens to you, sort of think, oh yeah, there's this strange stuff going on here, and after hearing your explanation, he says, I could use a drink. Just come this way with me.
Sure.
And he steps into a little alcove. Gets a pitcher of water out and pours himself a glass. Pours you a glass and hands it over to you and says,
"Not the drink I had in mind, but go ahead."
Well, we're still working.
True. That's true.
Look, Klaus, you are a military man.
Yes. You
know what's coming.
I do.
There's going to be shortages. There's
yes.
going to be rationing. There's going to be all kinds of people trying to work some sort of black market and all that stuff that happens as soon as these things are going to become restricted. I mean, we're already, getting orders for more and more stuff that we've got to ship out to the front lines to the soldiers. And
right.
All that.
Of course.
I'm going to have, my sister's pregnant. There's going to be another baby around next month. My youngest probably going to need a procedure done because of her lungs. She has breathing problems. I think you get where I'm going.
I do.
I mean, this is not going to be. This is not hoarding. I'm not going to be one of those people. But I've got to make sure that there's some stability for my family. So I'm not going to insist that you look the other way for nothing. But if you can be kind enough to not bring this up to Nilla, then perhaps we can help each other a little bit.
Gene, what I understand what you're saying, and I understand very much the difficulty that a war puts on the family and puts on loved ones, and so I'm not going to talk to Nilla, but I have a request for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ask for any sort of. I don't ask for you to take care of me in the way that you're describing taking care of me. If you catch my drift.
Okay.
What I ask of you is this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in this town that have a little bit extra, and you might be motivated to take a little bit extra. What I'd ask of you is when people who don't have extra come, when the people who don't have whose purses aren't as fat come, don't take advantage of them. That is what I ask of you, because they're good. This town is full of good people. They've been very good to me in the time that I've been here. And I am happy to sign off on these packages and say that, Nilla was a little shaky that day because we're at war.
Mm-hmm.
But all I ask is that you treat the good people of this town, the ones that aren't the higher-ups of the corporation or the businesses, the ones that aren't the town council members, actually you treat them fairly. Can you do that for me, Gene?
He seems kind of surprised as the conversation moves in this direction. Like he was either expecting you would be immediately on board or immediately screaming at him. So he takes a long drink from his glass of water, puts it down, scratches his head and looks at you and says, "Wow, Klaus, yeah, you're all right. I'll remember that. I'll make sure that if people need stuff, then I'm not gonna hold back.
That is all I ask.
I'm giving it to them.
That is all I ask. This town has been good to me, and I just ask that you be good to the town."
Okay. Yeah. No,
all right.
You're all right.
You're not bad. You're not bad either, Gene.
So that action was good. So we're going to reduce the anger in town by 1. If you want to form a bond with Gene,
you love to
add him to your list of bonds.
Gene Wassler.
1. And now, whenever you're in a scene with him,
sure.
no matter what happens, you have the opportunity to gain that point of joy.
Great.
So we are standing here at 15 19. 19 out of the 25 on the wall.
Okay.
So we can have that.
I think let's have that picnic. I think that'll be where we close. I think is
Okay.
we'll wrap up that picnic, and just like last time when I get the call, we'll wrap up.
Yeah, I think. Well, the picnic itself goes really well. I mean, you've already done a lot to temper sort of the nervous energy around town, and people are a lot more comfortable with how things are going. You know, things are going well. Things are going really well.
Great.
And then when the when the mayor steps out, and the other town officials come out and they begin making their speeches and so on, and talking about stuff. The Moravian flags are hung high around them, and they've actually got the school band out there to play play some nice stirring little anthems as they They project a couple speeches up on the big screens as the sun starts to go down in order to make sure everybody's properly patriotic.
Absolutely.
Moravia will endure, and we shall earn victory. In honor there is glory, and in glory there is victory, and so on. Are the mottos being passed around?
Sure.
And then people open up the floor for some questions and discussions and so on. And there's a gentleman named Dumont, who's he's up there. He's a veteran, but he's got a good couple of decades on you.
Okay.
Actually, walks with a heavy cane, long white beard, really gets that sort of grandfatherly look about him. Like he's retired, of course.
Sure.
You see him puttering around town here and there, feeding the pigeons. Telling people about the glory days of this, that, and the other thing. Very much in tune with being, the old man in town. But he steps up and with sort of this, kind of a thin, reedy voice addresses everybody and says, well, what is being done to establish more of a patriotic coalition in town? I think that more could be done. I mean, we've seen these things that, the nation is asking of us. We've already begun, donating what we can to the front lines and all that. Couldn't more be done in town? I mean, perhaps more of a local patriotic effort. And that's sort of people are sort of muttering about that, like, where's this going? What's that mean, and that sort of thing. I'd like to form a group, an organization, perhaps, of people who are willing to take on extra duties. I think there's more that we can be doing as a community. And he sort of looks around the crowd. And it's known that you're a veteran.
Sure,
so immediately he pings to you, Klaus. Klaus, don't you think that would be a valuable endeavor? A good way to spend some of our time and energies in looking for new ways that we can help?
I think it sounds wonderful to keep active, and I think that if we can do so in service of Moravia, it's wonderful. I am curious as to what activities you had in mind, and if you had any specific suggestions, but in general, I think that, I think the more we can do as a town to, help out while helping one another is, I think, would be more than encouraged. I think the specifics, if you have specifics in mind, I'd love to hear them.
Oh, certainly, yes. Well, the mayor seems to get on board with that, and she announces to everyone that they'll form a quick they'll take a quick vote, and they'll meet with you and with Dumont and a few other people who've been picked out of the crowd to help out. Hannah, it looks like Hannah might be interested. She's like, I don't want to get involved in any of this politics sort of thing, So once she hears about how it's mostly about, let's have some meetings, and let's discuss some things. So sort of the blessings of the town.
Sure.
They're going to put together this. What Dumont keeps referring to as a sort of a patriotic organization in town to further the Moravian war effort. I think that's going to be rolling along for a couple of days before it pops up again.
Okay, interesting. I think what I'm going to do then is maybe sit down with Dumont. Maybe as veteran to veteran, sit down with him, see what he has in mind, because I feel like this could go real good or real bad real quick, and I really want to get to the bottom of it. So maybe sit down with him, try to, empathize or convince him to, open up and tell me what he's got in mind.
Well, he's got a few things in mind. I mean, you meet him at the cafe.
Yeah, right.
Every morning he makes his way down from his apartment down to the cafe for a cup of really strong, really dark coffee. And I
offer to buy it this time, as a matter of course.
Sure.
Thank you for meeting me.
Oh, certainly. Well, yeah, so you want to try and figure out what angle he's working.
Yeah,
right. So
right. I want to know what he's getting at.
You can try being convincing if the idea is just to get that info.
Yeah,
if the idea is let's be pals.
I think that's what I'm going to do, is just try to convince him to open up to me from one veteran to another. What do you have in mind? Where do you see this coalition going?
The difficulty is a little higher for this. He's a little more guarded. Your difficulty is an 8 on this one, but you can probably do that. Let's see what happens. Is it 5?
2, 5, 6. That's a 9.
You keep getting these doubles. That's exactly what you want. I tell you, because when you get the doubles, you get to roll the lower die, and still get the result.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he wheedles back and forth for a while until he's on his second cup of coffee and is halfway through his roll, and talks about different things. What I think we really need is some sort of a citizens enforcement, really, of the things that are coming out. I mean, the police are going to have their hands full. We already know that the soldiers and troops are busy. I mean, the best of the police are already shipping out, in order to join the soldiers in the front lines and to help with border guard and that sort of thing. I think that ordinary civilians need to be able to stand up and take on some of those duties. We need to be willing and able to fill in, to act, to protect our community, the laws and the government's regulations. They have to be respected, especially during this wartime when that kind of disturbance at home could lead to disaster on the front. So I think this citizens patriotic committee really should work toward that end of finding ways in which we can safely police ourselves.
That's interesting. That's an interesting, a commendable approach, a commendable goal. Certainly one that I think I agree with you. I think the city could use that. I would be interested. What I would propose to Demont is I would love to take on. I'd love to see this form, and I'd love to take on as a veteran, as a veteran that, with all due respect, a more recent veteran, someone that is staying home for the war but still able to do a few things here and there. I'd love to take on perhaps an oversight role. Make sure that everything that our committee does goes on the up and up. I don't want this to form. I don't want, and I know that you, Demont, do not want this to turn into a mob.
Oh, no.
And so I think
that's exactly the opposite of what we're hoping for.
Yes, so I think I would love to oversee things. You and I both have an understanding of military doctrine and how to keep soldiers in line and keep them acting ethically. So I would be happy to take on that role.
Well, I think we've got an agreement then. Well, we're going to be drawing up some paperwork to present to the mayor, and I'll give it to you to sign off on, and we'll make sure that this becomes an official thing.
Fabulous.
Oh, very good.
Fabulous.
Good to know you, Klaus.
You as well, Dumont.
Finishes the last of his coffee and gets up and makes his way back out. He's going to go walk down to the park for see what's what out there. So you've got a point left on the war clock. You could take on some other action of yours in town.
I think I'm going to spend that last point training.
Okay. Now, remember, the point doesn't necessarily mean that you can only do one thing.
Right.
Yeah, you can do anything. Like, you can go over on the war clock and it doesn't hurt you until it's already run out.
Yeah, right.
But if you do want to spend that point in training
I think I'm going to take a training action.
Okay.
Yeah, because we can train skills, correct? Yeah,
yes.
I'm going to train my empathize and spend more time walking around, chatting with people. Because if I'm going to be in this role, I'm going to need to be really one of the people.
Well, it's good because you've been exercising that a lot. We've already seen it. So now you make sort of the concerted effort to do that.
Right.
So spending the one action, actually, since it's at a 0, it goes up to 1 right away. We don't need to worry about. We can just raise that right up to 1 right away, and that 1 will bring the war clock. It doesn't matter. Like you normally you'd roll the die, but it doesn't matter. It's going to be at least 1, and that'll fill the war clock. And to the point where more military bad stuff's going to happen.
Yep, absolutely.
So, you've spent a lot more time listening and talking to people and all that. And it's actually as you are on your way back to Dumont's to look over some of these papers that he's been been drawing up to present to the mayor, that you are stopped in the street by Boza again, and his usual compliment. Although they're a little more military obvious now. I mean, the first few times you've seen him, he'd try to keep things kind of quiet. Right. Now he doesn't seem to mind that he's sort of walking around out in the open, in the full dress uniform and flanked by guys with guns on their hips and all that. I mean, it's a lot more common to see soldiers out and about now.
And I think I greet him a little more warmly. I think that after everything that's happened this time, I think I greet him with a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more like, Commander Boza, it's good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Klaus. You seem to be doing some great things around here. I'm glad to hear that. The more good you can do for your country at home, the more good you can do out there.
The war isn't just fought on the battlefield.
You should have another point of joy, by the way, from that scene. Yes, so let's make sure you have that there.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Well, speaking of the battlefield, however, it seems that we're going to need your assistance once more. There's been another incursion into the mountains. This one much more severe than the previous one. Well, I can fill you in the details while we ship you out that way.
Understood. Let's ride. Now he loads into the car, and we drive off.
Heading towards the scrapyard and the next battle.
Yep. To be continued.
To be continued.
I love this game. I really love this game. I'm so into this. This is so cool.
I like it. I like it a lot. How now we're really getting the things going, because it's demonstrating that core loop. Of the battle into the home front, and the battle into the home front,
and seeing how they feed together. Really, it's really cool. It's really cool. I really like it.
In all honesty, you're having a really easy ride. I need to step things up. I'm worried that it's going to be like, oh yes, the war. Blah, ha, ha, that was fun. I mean, it's going to get rough.
Oh, for sure.
That's just in the cards, but it's kind of interesting how we've gone through these two sessions.
Yeah.
You've done very well with your die rolls.
I have done very well. I've been feeling good about the die rolls.
Klaus is leading a charmed life.
I don't think that's going to last, though.
Well, probably not.
Russell, thank you so much for coming back on Party of One.
Sure, thank you for having me back, and maybe we can do it again soon.
I would love to. And once again, where can people find your stuff online?
Robotclaw.info. That's my website. They'll find stuff about my old game, Tears of a Machine, new stuff that's coming around, and links to my social media presences there as well.
Cool. Well, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me.
Thanks, past me, and thanks again to Russell for coming onto the show. I love this game. This is so cool. Project Wingspan does so many things that I'm such a big fan of, and I cannot wait to play more of it on the show. Be sure to check out robotclaw.info for more information about Russell's games, as well as announcements about when Project Wingspan will be available to the public. And be sure to follow Russell on Google+, and on Twitter at robotclaw. You can also follow this show on Twitter at Party of One Pod, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/partyofonepodcast, and if you deeply want to support the show, consider backing us on Patreon. Your Patreon dollars pay for hosting fees, help us procure new equipment, and in short, help the show happen. And I deeply appreciate them, more than you know. That can be found at patreon.com/partyofonepodcast. If you want to hear more from me, check out All My Fantasy Children, the podcast where Aaron Catano and I take your character prompts and turn them into beautiful, living RPG characters. That can be found at soundcloud.com/allmyfantasychildren. Party of One is produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. All music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers. That's it for me. Until next time, thanks for listening, and party on!
Never gonna die.